So, first off, what's pro rata, right?
Yeah.
And so pro rata, right, from my experience and definitionally is basically as an investor, you put in a certain amount into a company. And if you're given a pro rata right, you're allowed to invest in the like
Right.
subsequent rounds to keep your ownership percentage. That's the
So if the
idea.
basically it's like if the company is doing well, you get to keep on investing, right? Which I think makes sense in principle.
Yeah. And I think what, she's getting at is that it's becoming more of like a negotiation chip from founders
Hmm.
of not offering it up front when
Yeah.
it traditionally was allowed. And I do think with the advent of safes, and the safe, we can go into it another one, but they usually have a side letter with it for the pro rata. And that isn't always necessarily given up front. And I think that's a
Hmm.
lot of what she's saying is like that should be kind of standard and par for the course and has been. And now that there are potentially venture lawyers out there probably trying to show their value and worth by telling
Yeah.
founders not to do it and have a negotiating chip. It's somewhat shrewd on that part, but I understand the frustration of investors as well.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would say on the founder's side, I sort of see it both ways. One, it's like, if you don't offer pro rata, then it's like less work or less of a requirement, right? It's like pro rata is saying you have to do something, right? So obviously, if you don't have to do something, that's usually better for yourself, even if it may not necessarily be the right thing to do, right? But I think like where you and I can maybe share a good perspective is like we've been, we are, well, I don't know, we are angel or wannabe angels, and investing at early stages, and like this has definitely happened to me where I'm investing small check, and a company I've helped a ton, it's like they went off and raised their seed. I was nowhere near the picture, right? Because I don't help a lot with fundraising. I help more with like partnerships and customers and product and stuff like that. And they raised the round. He called me like the day before and just gave me an update on the round and everything. I was like, oh, I would love to put in a 5 or 10K check. And it was like, oh, I think it's going to be pretty tough to do it, right? And I was kind of it wasn't the biggest deal in the world, but actually the company ended up going under recently. But still, at that time, I would have liked to put in a 5 or 10K check because I'd been doing a lot of work. And like I get it though. He was like he raised millions of dollars, so like why is he going to take the time to include me, right?
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing because it is like a benefit, right? And the question is should a startup give it to every investor?
Yeah.
Is it really worth their time and effort? Because there are dynamics where so let's say we're pre-seed investing as an angel, and they start raising a seed round, but they have an institutional that comes in and wants to take the whole round, and they
Right.
say you're raising $2 million, and they basically don't have any room, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of what happens and where people get pushed out. I think it's frustrating because then you're, getting diluted in that round and not maintaining your ownership percentage. But I also think, like in the case of the fund and people like that, they do pre-seed investments and then they have to follow on with like SPVs and things like that.
Yeah.
So it is an interesting dynamic, but definitely seems hyper aggressive on the venture lawyer side to be pushing that.